okay. Today we celebrate Pentecost. That's why we're doing a red today. And we celebrate this, and we read stories all about the Holy Spirit. So in Acts, we hear about how it came down as a wind, and they had tongues set aflame, and everyone was confused. And after hearing this story so many times, how do you picture this event? Do you think of it like the paintings we see where the disciples have those tiny little flames over their heads? Or was it a little breeze they had? You know, we've heard the story so many times that it's possible to lose the wonder of it all. We hear that the Spirit comes upon them, and in John the Spirit gets breathed into them. But what was that actually like? I wonder. What does the Spirit look like to you? A dove, a ghost, an angel, a breeze? These images of the Spirit are pretty tame, but the Spirit is anything but. In Acts, we have the disciples having a meeting. Sounds familiar, right? And then there was a rush of violent wind. So this is no tiny breeze. This is a wind. A wind like the winds that blow over the deep of creation in Genesis, or the wind that made the floods of Noah's time rise and fall, or the wind that's divided the Red Sea for Moses. This is a very violent wind, as if the Spirit is saying, hey, you thought that resurrection was something, watch what happens now. And then flames. I wish I could have a little bonfire here, but I'm sure I would get in trouble for that. Flames, speaking in tongues, bewilderment, astonishment, amazement. The Spirit does all this. So it isn't a cute, tame little dove. It's fire and wind and confusion. And Pentecost is all about what is next for the people who no longer have Jesus physically with them. This story carries us into a life with the Spirit, and it shows us how the Spirit should affect our lives. In John, Jesus says the Father will send another advocate to testify on his behalf. The first one, of course, was Jesus himself. The ancient Greek word here is parakletos, which can be the advocate. It can be translated as comforter. But after hearing what the Spirit does in Acts, I think it is pretty far from comfort in this case. But the basic meaning of the word is to come alongside one another. That's such a descriptive word, much more descriptive than we have a translation for. To come alongside one another. It's a beautiful, expressive word, much, much more than an advocate. So in the incarnation, Jesus came alongside us so that we could know God. And now the Holy Spirit is here to come alongside us, to give us the Spirit of truth, to give us strength, and to invite us into a Christ-like life. The Spirit comes alongside us to encourage and help us, to strengthen us, to go out and do the ministry Jesus gave us to do. If we get too comfortable, we become complacent. Spirit comes to stir things up. When we get too comfortable, we accept things that we shouldn't. And we become desensitized to a lot of the awful things that happen in our world. Like our children being shot at school. Poverty, famine, war, the list is way too long. But the Spirit comes to shake things up. And we've kind of tamed the Spirit. It's supposed to be amazing and scary and inspiring. In ministry, we cannot become complacent. David Lowes writes that Jesus never preached at us to build churches and take care of old buildings and devote yourself to crumbling institutions. Don't get me wrong. I love church. I love churches. They're beautiful. We should care for our property. Not saying that. But when all we do is fix buildings and hold on to old ideas, there's something wrong. Jesus preached to us to go and make disciples, not wait for them to come in. And he said, when you care for the least of these, you are caring for me. And the most important one, he said, was to love one another as I have loved you. That's the key. If it isn't love, it isn't from God. That's what our presiding bishop always says. And our presiding bishop, Michael Curry, preached yesterday at the royal wedding at Windsor Castle. And I wish I could play you his sermon because it was awesome. So everyone should seek that out and look it up online. But I'm going to quote part of it here. He made a very strong impression on people. There was even a sketch on Saturday Night Live last night with him in it. But not him, but somebody pretending to be him. That's how much of an impression he made. But Bishop Curry said yesterday, love changes lives, and it can change the world. If you don't believe me, stop and think and imagine a world where love is the way. Imagine our homes and families when love is the way. Imagine neighborhoods and communities where love is the way. Imagine governments and nations where love is the way. Imagine business and commerce when love is the way. Imagine this tired old world when love is the way. When love is the way, unselfish, sacrificial, redemptive, then no child will go to bed hungry in this world ever again. When love is the way, we will let justice roll down like a mighty stream and righteousness like an ever-flowing brook. When love is the way, poverty will become history. When love is the way, the earth will be a sanctuary. When love is the way, we will lay down our swords and shields to study war no more. When love is the way, there's plenty of room for all of God's children. Because when love is the way, we actually treat each other well, like we are family. When love is the way, we know that God is the source of all, and we are brothers and sisters, children of God. This is the love that Jesus wants us to spread in the world. That's our mission. And he sent the Spirit to help us with this, to stir us up, to shake us out of our lives, to be by our sides. We need to rediscover that awe and wonder that the disciples had on Pentecost. Find that wind, find the fire, and then apply it to your own ministry. Because every single Christian has a mission of love, not just the clergy people or the leaders. Every single Christian has a mission of love. The Spirit descends onto all people. Christianity is a communal religion. Everybody working together, and we're all disciples. We're all prophets. We all have the Spirit and need to work with it to spread the love of God. So that's our task. We can do it. I know we can. Break out of this idea of the cute domesticated spirit. Shake things up. Because we're not alone. We have each other, and we always have God and the Spirit as our advocate. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Excuse me.